Good afternoon. Oh, Trudie's already in. I didn't press that button. It's Monday. It's 12:30, and we are going live on LinkedIn with Trudie Hills. So, Trudie, who are you and what do you do?
Oh, hi, Ashley, and everyone else who's listening, obviously. So I'm Trudie Hills, and I'm a disability consultant and trainer. And I help organisations look at to make their offer, some of their buildings, and more accessible and inclusive for people with disabilities.
Okay, and that's any disability, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah, from non-visible right through to the ones that you can see and recognise every day.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so how did you get into this world then, Trudie?
So I worked for Lloyds Banking Group for a large number of years and got the opportunity to work on improving a process within disability team of one person as it was then, recognised there were lots of opportunities, spoke to the right person and spent the last 14 years of my career with Lloyds Banking Group within disability and inclusion and diversity. And then went out on my own 2 years ago and I'm working with a couple of organisations, Business Disability Forum and Freely Williams Limited, delivering this training and doing consultancy work.
Fantastic. Now, we'd expect somebody like Lloyds Bank to be all over this. What about the smaller businesses? You know, we don't have the time or the wherewithal and stuff like that. You know, you had a department, a team at Lloyds Bank and huge resources. And I don't know how many people they employ, but you know, if you go into a shop in Sidmouth High Street, you know, what have they got and how can they what can they be doing?
So yeah, it is obviously a lot easier for large organisations, Ashley. But I think what we have to remember is most adjustments, most things that you do don't have to cost a lot of money. And you know, there's 16.8 million disabled people in the UK.
Right, hang on. You're gonna have to say that again a lot slower.
16.8 million people.
Wow. That's
in the UK.
I think that's staggering, right? Because I think the average person on the street thinks that if they're in a wheelchair, they're disabled, and if they're not disabled. Is that the sort of feeling that you get?
Yeah, absolutely. 80% of those people who are disabled will actually not have a visible disability.
Yeah.
So the majority of disability is non-visible. So it's long-term health conditions, it's neurodivergence, it's mental health, all of those things that you can't see. And I think that's important. It's about 1 in 4 of us, actually, to bring it down to a really small number.
Well, about 1 in 4 of us. Maths at the moment, 16 million, and I got a rough idea of what the population is. Yeah, that is staggering, isn't it? That's staggering.
Yeah, absolutely. So to go back to your question, Ashley, is, you know, small things make a difference. You know, how you greet somebody, how you treat somebody. If someone is in a wheelchair and they have someone with them, who do you speak to? Do you speak to the customer who is in the wheelchair, or actually do you speak to the person who's with them? And if you don't know the answer, guys, it is the person in the wheelchair.
I was gonna suggest that it was the person in the wheelchair. Yeah, is it etiquette to get down to their level and, you know, crouch down a little bit or bend down, or is that sort of like rude? Because when I speak to my grandson, I get down low so I don't appear like this huge, big, scary Bampy. But is it condescending to do the same to somebody in a wheelchair or mobility scooter?
Yeah, it is really, because, you know, you're getting into their personal space. Some people would like it, you know, if they have other, because, you know, again, people won't have one disability necessarily. One thing you would never ever do is touch someone's wheelchair. You know, and often if you crouch down, what's the first thing you do is you put your hand on the wheelchair. No way. So that's why I would suggest not to. But then, you know, if someone is struggling to hear you, and ask what works for them. And that, you know, goes back to this, you know, the small business. You know, the people who know about their disability and what they need are the people with the disability. And there's a phrase in the disability world, nothing about us without us. So yeah, talk to disabled people. Watch what happens when you come in. Just treat them I'm going to say normally, which is probably not the right word in this conversation, but treat them normally. They are people with feelings exactly the same as you and I.
Yeah, that's true. And the thing is, right, you've got your shop, you've put a little ramp up so that people in wheelchairs can get in, and you're right, I've ticked all of those boxes, but you're precluding the other 80% of those 16 million if that's all you're doing, aren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. And I think we in the past there was a big thing about got to make sure shops are accessible, you've got to get into them. It's not just about a ramp at the front door, it's how is your shop organized? Can people go through it with a wheelchair? If someone is blind, are the boxes on the floor that they could trip over? And I think it's just about being curious and looking at it through a different lens. And there's lots of help out there, it doesn't have to cost lots of money. But I think that's the thing for me. It's just about being curious, asking, watching. If you see someone coming in and you're like, well, they're struggling, well, find out why, understand why, and do something different.
Yeah, they could be severely depressed, they could be neurodivergent. And so you've got to be welcoming and help
Absolutely.
them. So what are the mistakes that we're all making then? What would, if you had a magic wand, what sort of things would you like us to all be doing? We've only got half an hour in this show.
I know. You're really mean because I could talk about this for hours. I think the thing is about making it business as usual. So for businesses, you talk to your applicants and you ask them what adjustments they need, and that's what you do to change. And again, that doesn't have to cost money. If they become employed by you, it might be you need to adjust what time they start work because they can't do the commute to work. The train's too busy, the senses go haywire. So actually coming in at a quieter time, that costs nothing. It might be that you do more communication, but it's about just thinking about this all the time and not as a bolt-on, because it costs more money, funnily enough. If you do something and then you have to refix it or retrofix it, it costs you more money than if you thought about it in the first place. So when you're rearranging your shop, actually think about, well, is that aisle wide enough? Which way do people have to walk? Now, shops are really clever. They make you walk so you buy, but actually, does that then preclude somebody with a disability? Think about music in shops. I was actually in an airport at the weekend. I'm not neurodivergent, but boy, oh boy, was that a noisy place. And the music was in the background. It was horrible music. But again, it's like, could you switch that off if someone came in and said, or you knew you had a customer who just struggled with that? Can you switch it off when they're coming or when they arrive?
You could put a sign up. You could put a sign up. We like music in our shop, but if you don't like it, please tell us.
Absolutely.
And, or if you'd like to hear something different, that it's just those little things. So, do you predominantly work with companies the size of Lloyds Bank, or do you go in and visit a shop on Sidmouth High Street if you lived here?
We don't. I wish I did live in Sidmouth, by the way. But no, I don't tend to do the little shops. But I also do small companies, so it's not just the big corporates. It is any size, and I'm open to helping anybody, who wants to do this. But we tend not to do the shops because a lot of them will be in shopping centres who think about this and work with them. I think the high street is one area that probably we could do more in. Just another stat for you, and this is another staggering stat actually. Spending power of disabled people, £274 billion.
Yeah, okay.
By them and their family. Yeah. And if they can't get into your shop, or they're not welcome, or they go onto a website that's not accessible, what will they do? They'll disappear. Yeah. They'll walk away.
They'll go to the places that help them. So yeah, so you've now so here I am looking at shops and offices and stuff like that, like the Lloyds Bank. But yeah, what about my website? Is that accessible?
Yeah.
What do I do with my website? What are the key mistakes that we're all making on our websites?
So not very simple things like not having alt text on pictures. There's some very complicated guidelines called WCAG, which is the World Consortium of something or other. And there are some very easy things that you can do, but it is using simple language, and making sure that things are, they call tagged properly. PDFs, lots of people put PDFs on websites. They're not the most accessible document. As I say, having captions on videos. So that if someone's looking at a video on your website, it's captioned, and things like that. And it's a color contrast. But again, there's tools out there that aren't expensive that can help you make your websites much more user friendly. But what I want to say as well, you're not just helping the people who have disabilities. You help everybody. Yeah, who doesn't like nice, simple, plain, jargon-free language?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of industries out there that thrive on jargonese, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, without a doubt. So I think, it's those simple things. It's, read it like a 7-year-old. Let a 7-year-old read that and understand it.
Yeah.
And the reading age, the average reading age in the UK is something like 11.
Is it really?
It is. Yeah.
Wow, you're blowing my mind today with all these stats.
But, and people write websites for, they assume everybody has that greater reading age, but no, average reading age is 11.
Wow. So this is one of the things I say to people when I'm helping them with their LinkedIn profiles. You've got to make it dead easy for me to know exactly who you are and what you do. And I look at some people's profiles and I don't get this. And so I put it into ChatGPT and say, hey, can you explain this to me? And so I talk to some people and they go, oh yeah, but if you're in my industry, you'll know that. But what if I'm not?
Yeah. And also, what if you are about to go in that industry, or you need that industry and you've never used it before? It's all very well to say, yeah, it's my industry now, but yet you're missing all those new people, because they will not engage. They'll just switch off and go elsewhere.
Yeah. Okay. So we've put a ramp in our shop. We've made sure that there's nothing lying on the floor, so that if you're visibly disabled, you don't trip over. We've greeted people nicely. We're not bending down to their wheelchairs. Our website has now got alt text all over any images. We've put captions on our videos, and we've got nice contrasting colors that are easy to see, and jargon-free language. That's it then. I'm done, aren't I? No. Okay. What else do I need to do, Trudie?
It's different, Ashley. And that's what I say. Talk to your customers. Talk to what about your employee? You might not know they have a disability. Even in that little shop, you might have a Saturday assistant. Unless you've talked to them, unless you've had a conversation with them, they could be really struggling. If they're neurodivergent, they could be masking the whole time they're with you. How do you make it easy for them? Did they come in and appear really stressed? Well, that's because you're making them come in at 9 o'clock every single day. Actually, if you tweak that by 15 minutes, either earlier or later, would that make a big difference? You get a better employee by having that conversation. But I think the other message I want to make sure that everyone listens to is everyone's different. You might have the same disability. You might look the same. Your adjustments, your barriers will be different. How you overcome those barriers will be different, because we're all individuals. And again, so you see someone in a wheelchair, don't treat every person in the wheelchair the same. Some people will go, oh, but I saw them get up and walk. Yeah, some people use a wheelchair if they're going on a long distance or temporary. Yeah. Oh, people in that blue badge parking space, my favourite one. I get out the car. I haven't got a blue badge, but let's say my husband. I'll use my husband as an example. He gets out the car and he walks away. They're going to go, well, what reason? A blue parking space? He shouldn't be. He has a bona fide blue badge. He has days where he really struggles. Don't make assumptions.
Yeah. Yeah. If they're parking in the blue badge though, and then there's cartwheeling down the road, then maybe. But yeah, you don't know, and you see people with some sort of physical disability, they can probably only walk a few paces. So yeah, absolutely. But yeah, on a good day, they might be able to walk around the block. But you just don't know.
They might just be going to that shop that's close enough because they're in the blue space. No, I don't need to get my stick or my my frame out, because I'm parked where I need to be. The shop is there. I can manage it today.
Yeah, no, perfect. I love that. What about business owners like me that are predominantly online, do training online, and it's all over Zoom? You're gonna throw the book at me, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. I told you, but it is things like, when you're doing training, it's important to remember not to say things like it's on the screen, because somebody might not be able to see the screen. Do you ask before you do your training if anybody needs an adjustment? And if you don't, everyone should, because then you can tailor the session and it doesn't spoil it for everybody else. That's the other thing. People go, oh, well, if they're going to do it, doesn't. You just slightly tweak it. So you wouldn't say things like, yeah, on the screen. And it's just about, again, conversations. I can't say it enough, really, can I? It's having that conversation. It's asking what will make that session better for that person.
Yeah.
When you share material afterwards, make sure that is captioned. It's got transcripts if there's videos. That it's accessible, and think about it's accessible for everybody. Because again, everyone will go, "Oh, well, I had that blind person who was blind on my course. All I need to worry about is making sure that everything I put is right for them." But then if you just pick that up, put it out there again, because you've done the same course for a different set of people, you might miss the things that you need to change.
Yeah, and again, if you've got somebody who's been through your training and they've got a disability, have a chat with them. And it's all about the dialogue and keeping the dialogue open, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's the same with LinkedIn. I am going to roast you now, actually, because I know you're going to roast me later. So I'm going to roast you now. But it's important with LinkedIn. Obviously, we're on LinkedIn, and we've talked about alternative text. But actually, it's not just there's a picture of a dog. What's the dog doing? Give context. Not write War and Peace, because the screen reader colleagues out there will throw the book at me. But it's right enough to tell somebody what's happening in that picture. We've talked about captions. We've talked about language. Emojis. I'm going to speak up for my dear friends at the RNIB here. Emojis are not good bullet points, because the screen reader reads the whole description of the emoji and then continues to read the sentence. You don't know where it starts and stops. Emojis are fine, used, not overused, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Don't overuse emojis. Carousels, where you put lots of pictures, they often put themselves into a PDF. PDFs are notoriously difficult to make accessible. So again, put image documents, make sure everything is has an alternative text. And I know some of your galleries, Ashley, are like 20 or 30 pictures. Sounds like a long time, but just think about, well, what do I want people to know from that gallery? And that's where you might put an image description above the picture, where you might just describe that there's 20 pictures showing XYZ. Make it accessible to people. Use, they call them sans serif fonts, not fancy. We don't want fancy stuff, because actually, again, it's hard to read. Keep to those plain, very straightforward texts like Arial and Libri, and there's lots of others. And then I guess the last one, thinking about LinkedIn, is where you're hashtagging. Use CamelCase. And for those of people who don't know what CamelCase is, so I'll use CamelCase as the example. It's a capital C, then AMEL, a capital C, ASE, with no spaces. So it's hashtag, capital C, all the way through. Again, that makes it much more accessible if you're hashtagging people.
Yeah, you can read that. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. So there's some things for LinkedIn, but again, not just exclusively for LinkedIn. Think about that for websites and those languages and visual stuff that we do all day, every day. I think we like to just think, and some people like pictures, don't get me wrong. And this is why you can probably never be 100% accessible and inclusive, because everybody's different. But you work with the people that are with you, that either work for you or are your customers.
Love that. And Marion's just come on to say, I'm so glad you said about emojis. So many people use them so much. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I totally agree with you. And both Marianne and Lydia have come on to show us what CamelCase looks like. So yeah, perfect. So yeah, if the Ashley leaves a 15-minute guy, if that was a hashtag, the beginning of every word would need to be a capital letter so that we can actually see.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I guess
With
it's
no
called
spaces.
CamelCase. I guess it's called CamelCase because when we look at it, there's loads of humps. Is that right?
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
There's no flies on me, is there?
No, not today. Obviously.
Okay, so I've been roasted. Thank you for that. Is it acceptable to put a video online knowing that the platform will automatically put captions on?
Yes, but check them. And I'll give you a real life example. AI did the transcript for a video that I happened to look at. And the most important thing on that video was the contact details. AI got it wrong.
Right. Okay.
So yes, use AI. It's great. It saves a lot of time, but read it through. Make sure that it's right, because obviously language, people's voices, AI will just mix them up. But as I say, and also make sure the most important message is right. You know, in this particular video, the most important thing were the contact details, and they were wrong.
Right. Okay. That's a good lesson to learn there. That's a good lesson to learn.
Absolutely.
So, what's your biggest beef when we come to disability and inclusion?
I think I've got several. You won't be surprised, but we've only got a few minutes. I think my biggest beef at the moment is cars parking on pavements.
Oh, I wrote a song about that.
Oh, well, you have to send it to me.
I wrote a song, and the reason I wrote a song is I have been a puppy raiser for guide dogs for the blind, and we get a guide dog. And I tell you what, that was great training for me to actually be in the world of a person that would have a guide dog. And you walk down pavements, and you see people. Sorry about that. You walk down pavements and you see people parking on a car, and you've got this little doggy, and you've got to take this doggy out in the road. Now I'm fine because I can see everywhere. And if you imagine a blind person with that guide dog, it's taking them into the flow of the traffic. And because I've done that, I am like you. That's my biggest beef as well. But the thing is, right, I live in Sidmouth. So there's an awful lot of young people with kiddies in pushchairs. My daughter is now one. And there's an awful lot of elderly people and people with a disability in mobility scooters and electric wheelchairs. And they're all going out into the road because Bob doesn't want to put his car in a sensible place. He wants to be near Tesco at the top of town. The amount of times I walk past Tesco at the top of town and people have parked on the pavement because it's a bit narrow and they can nip in and get their cigarettes and their beer. Yeah,
absolutely. And it's
shocking.
I'm so glad that you broadened that out, because again, a lot of things that you do for people who have disabilities, for everybody, you know, traffic lights, you know, the sort of little ramps by the traffic lights with the bobbles on, they just help everybody. Because if I've got a pushchair, you know, you've got a ramp up to a building. I've got a pushchair or a pram. I might not have a disability, but that ramp's really useful to me too.
Yeah, absolutely. The amount of times I've been at steps and helped a mother up a flight of steps with a buggy. Yeah, crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Absolutely. So that's probably my biggest beef. And I think probably the other one is we don't talk enough about this. There's still too much stigma out there, and it's too difficult, or it's going to cost me too much money. Both myths, certainly the second one is a myth. It doesn't have to cost lots of money. Yeah,
no, it's difficult talking to someone who's got a disability because you don't know what to say, and you know what you're doing is you're breaking down those barriers, and that's what we should all do. And you know, so yeah, that's.
All I would say actually is, if you don't know what to say, just ask, or if you think you might have said something that's not quite right, just say, oh, if I've got that wrong, let me know. Because, but again, you know, for that person. So you might say that whatever they've said works for them to someone else, and they'll go, well, that's not quite how I like to be described. So that's why conversation, asking is so much better. And it's human.
Yeah.
We all like to talk.
Absolutely, we
But
do.
why do we not talk about disability?
I don't know. I know there's 16 million people in the UK with a disability. We should do.
Exactly.
Oh, it's been great talking to you today. We're almost out of time, but I do have time to roast a post. So are you up for me to roast one of your posts?
Well, I've roasted you, Ashley, so it's only fair.
Okay.
Roast my post, roast my post. Give me the comment ghost. Roast my post, roast my post. We're gonna roast my...
Here we go. We've got your post up on screen, and it says image description: a person swimming with a wheelchair at the side of the pool. Okay, so this is a post, Trudie's Thursday Insight. So every Thursday you do a little insight, is that right?
I try to, I try to be there every Thursday.
Good for you, because then that means that you don't have to think about something on a Thursday. You know you're going to write that. So that's a great thing here. Inclusion becomes meaningful when we turn intention into action. One message from last week's Business Disability Forum. So you've tagged somebody in that. Simple idea, important one. And you're telling the story what we need to do. Doesn't mean we should stop thinking big. Ambition matters, but meaningful change often starts with one deliberate practice. It's basically what we've talked about today.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? And then you've added what someone else has said, and then someone else has said. So you've done a couple of tags. What happens is if you tag somebody and they don't actually come on and say anything, that could harm your reach.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it'd be great if Diane would have come on and go, oh, thanks ever so much for, you know, and this point, something like that. Okay. What's practice? So you've asked a question at the end, but you didn't ask a question at the front.
Okay.
So what I would have started off with is how does inclusion, what does inclusion mean to you? So it gets me thinking. And then you say, every week I share some of my thoughts, and then you call it Thursday, and then you explain it, which is great. I would break the paragraphs down a little bit.
Yeah.
So a space after hear it and in between that. So because looking at that post, like, oh my God, that's lots to read.
Yeah.
Right. It's less to read than some posts, but they make it look easy to read. So a bit like if you think about what a magazine looks like compared to War and Peace.
Yeah.
All right. You don't put up a page of a proper book. You know, you've got, you know, two whole pages of text staring at you. You expect that in a novel. When you're flicking through a magazine, you've got images and bits and pieces like that. So that's what you're trying to do here. And then you've put in a couple of hashtags with your CamelCase. Well done, you. Well done, you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'd hope I had.
What I would suggest you did more of is put more of Trudie in the images.
Okay.
Because then we see a little bit more of you. So you could have been in front of that picture and just sort of like, but then we start seeing Trudie as the specialist in this space. But no, that's a really nice looking post, and I see that you put your alt text outside of the photo. But did you put it in the photo as well?
Yeah, I did it in both because again, different people react and look at things differently. So if I didn't want to click into the picture, I already know what it says. So, but it is also alt text as well.
Right,
again, not everybody interacts in the same way.
Okay, perfect. Trudie, you've been an absolutely wonderful guest. Before we say goodbye, I'm just going to give a shout out to my guest next week. I've got a doctor on. Doctor who? Not quite. It's Kiri Blight. She is into medicine and just nutrition and stuff like that. So looking forward to having a good old chat with her. And I will be roasting her post because she says she doesn't like LinkedIn, but she's quite happy going into A&E and fixing all those broken people that come in. So interesting to see that next week. So looking forward to that. Trudie, just got one last comment here. Someone here, I don't know who it is, but they say, nice one, Trudie. So you've got a fan out there. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
And Lydia's also praising you. Well done, Trudie. A great 30 minutes. There we go. Awesome. We
Yeah.
can all go home happy. Thank you very much
Absolutely.
to everybody for all your lovely comments. Thank you for watching. And Trudie, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ashley. Been a really good session.
All right. Cheerio now. Bye-bye.
You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never gonna win. Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in.
Thank you so much for watching or listening to my show this week. I want to bring to you people that can help us running our business. I love having a chat. I'm very nosy, very curious, and I'd love to ask questions. So if you want to be a guest or if you've got some ideas for guests, let me know. And if you want me to help you with your LinkedIn, get in touch, because I want to give you a voice. Now, that could just be using LinkedIn, but I do other things as well. So I can help you with a podcast, a live show, and all kinds of other amazing things. So get in touch. My name is Ashley Leeds. I'm the 15-minute guy, and you can find me on LinkedIn.